It's your weekly breakaway for fun conversations on pro cycling. Come and join us for another ride in the team bus. I'm Matt Harper, and together with my brother Justin, we'll do deep-ish dives on professional bike races, teams, riders, and all sorts of cycling-related stories. And we might just sprinkle in some other shiny pop cultural objects along the way. So jump in the saddle and tighten up those shoes. The road awaits. Allez! Hello and welcome to the Team Bus. I'm Matt and this is my brother Justin, and today on the bus we're talking all things Mathieu Van der Poel. As the off-season rolls along, we're taking some time to fill in some of our pro cycling blind spots, rewatch some classic races, and generally just broaden our knowledge of the sport in all of its facets. And given the incredible season that Van der Poel had in 2025, we figured he was a perfect subject for a closer look. It also means we don't really have to talk about Tadej Pogačar. Thank God. In this past season, MVDP managed to win two spring classics, Les Semaines and the E3 Saxo Classic, two monuments, Milan-San Remo and Paris-Roubaix, a Tour de France stage, which also gave him the yellow jersey, which he wore for four stages of the race, and a stage of the Renouille Tour just for good measure. Those are some impressive results, especially considering he raced on just 41 days on the road. Oh, and he also won the Cyclocross World Championship for the seventh time, becoming the rider with the most rainbow jerseys in the history of that discipline. At 30 years of age, he's no spring chicken in the pro peloton, but if 2025 is any indication, he's got many more big wins in his future. So today, we'll start with an in-depth review of perhaps his most definitive single performance, the 2019 Amstel Gold Race, and we'll follow that up with a career retrospective as well as some predictions for 2026. And as always, we'll finish out with more adventures in the Broom Wagon. Allez, Mathieu! Welcome to the Team Bus. I'm Matt. I'm here with my brother Justin, and as we said in our intro, we're talking Mathieu Van der Poel today. Yeah, it was a fun ride down memory lane with this guy because we're just been so beaten over the head with Tadej Pogačar for the sort of entirety of the season, whereas Van der Poel sort of had his big moments in the front half. And it's just nice to be talking about someone other than Tadej. And Van der Poel is just amazing to watch. So yeah, this was great. So we're going to start off with a review of the 2019 Amstel Gold Race, as if we had just watched it for regular show. And boy, did I love watching this race. And it was Yes. It was a damn good race, like throughout the whole thing, not just the crazy finish. I mean, fantastic. And right from the jump, the very, very first thing you see, like as the broadcast comes on, it's like title card, and then first shot is like this kind of sweeping up shot to Mathieu Van der Poel up there on the stage for the team presentation. It's like just from moment one, it is the Van der Poel show that day.
I mean, they were all over him as this dark horse, not really so dark horse favorite of this race. And
no, not dark horse, I would say, because he was just crushing it throughout the spring, and was just primed. There was all this history because like it had been 20 years or something since. So
it had been since 2001 when Eric Decker.
Yeah.
So there was an 18-year stretch.
For a Dutch winner, yeah. So and this is of course the big Dutch race, et cetera, et cetera. It's in Van der Poel's backyard. I mean, all the puzzle pieces are there for the drama on this one, and he seems poised and ready to win this thing.
Yeah.
And as we get into it, that is not a foregone conclusion by any means throughout this race. In fact, it was looking quite opposite, but let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. Also during that 18-year stretch, Philippe Gilbert had won that race 4 times. He had really owned it during that stretch. There was a stretch where he had, won it 4 times out of, God knows how many he was in.
Right. And he was there trying to get his record equaling fifth win. He would have pulled equal
Yes.
for most wins in that race. Um, it was a absolutely gorgeous weather. The environs are fantastic. It's a classic race. It goes back to the 60s.
Hmm.
Of course, Mathieu Van der Poel, famously from a big cycling family. His maternal grandfather was Raymond Poulador, and of course his father Adrie Van der Poel, who Phil Liggett loves to refer to Mathieu as about 20 times a year. Uh, was a big name in Dutch cycling and in pro cycling in general back in like the 90s, 80s, and 90s. He's got a pretty impressive palmares, as we'll get into a little later, I'm sure. But
And he won the race as well. He was a
yeah,
former Amstel winner.
former winner for sure. In addition to all that, like just watching this race, it's so fun to just step back in history 6 years and just see the differences and all the uniforms and which guys are there and see what they're. It's just so fun to see these guys. So it's like some of the people that I was loving. Bling was there, of course. Julian Alaphilippe is one of the main animators of the entire race. In
Yes.
fact, his name was probably said aloud more times than Vanderpool in this race. Tim Wellens, they're all just looking so young, even though it was only 6 years ago. But you know,
Kwiatkowski.
change, yeah, Kwiatkowski. Um, the older team kits, you had the Corendon, which is no longer a thing. Katusha. You had Trek was Trek Segafredo. You had that CCC team with the orange jerseys. You had
The
the
Decenic,
classic.
the Lulu's jersey, the Decenic jersey is crazy. It's like
Yeah,
the whole thing, the whole kit being like that bright blue.
he just looked so good in that uniform. I don't know what it was, but like he was just like I love the way that guy looked in that uniform. Yeah, and you also had one of my faves, the AG2R with the brown and light blue and white. They were still in that kit then. Um, you had the world champion there, Alejandro Valverde. That was the year that he wore the world his final year after he took it from Peter Sagan. And speaking of Sagan, he was there
Yeah,
for
Sagan was definitely
Bora
there.
in the Slovak National Championships kit. Yeah, yeah. So the stage was set, and the coverage that we got in the video we watched started with 60 some
Yeah,
odd
something like
kilometers
that.
ago, and there was a breakaway group, bunch of bunch of guys, none of which I had ever heard of. Like it's funny, and it's funny how that is a thing, because as we've seen over the past couple of years specifically, more guys just go in the breakaway now, and bigger names go in the breakaway, like
Mm.
people you've heard of, because of how fast the racing has become, and because like everything has been pared down to the same like handful of riders that seem to win almost every race. Tadej
Hmm.
Pogacar foremost among them. You've now got guys who normally 5 years ago would have been like, I'll try my hand in the finish, see if I can make something happen in the finish. Now they're just like, there's no way I'm winning against Tadej Pogacar if this thing goes down to the peloton. So my only shot of winning is getting in the breakaway. And so it's just interesting to go back 6 years to a race like this, and the entirety of that breakaway is dudes I've never heard of. You know what I mean? Um, that would not happen in this day and age.
No, and it also speaks to. I'm sure that a part of that also is that we are watching so much racing that we are much more familiar with most of the riders in the peloton. Obviously, like I was not watching racing at this time at
Yeah,
all. So,
but I was watching a goodly amount of racing back then in 2019, and to not even recognize a single name in a breakaway of like eight riders from just 6 years ago, like I don't know. It just highlighted that point for me. That's what I thought because I'd heard someone talking about that whole dynamic and how it's changed, how breakaway formation has changed in the past couple of years, like on a different podcast. So it got me thinking about that when I saw the names in that breakaway. I was like, all right, let's see who's in here. Who do we got? And I was like, nope,
nope.
nope, no, 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 no. I don't know. damn one of these dudes. So, anyways,
I didn't. So obviously, once we pick up the coverage, we pretty early get Van der Poel attack that gets reeled back in, and then you get
yeah,
Lulu.
that was about 43 kilometers to go. He that attack did result in a catch of the breakaway,
Mhm.
but it did not he did not get separation from it and was pulled back by the peloton.
And there was a lot of punditry going on about maybe that was too early and he expended too much energy, and
Yeah, he caught a lot of criticism earlier in his
yeah.
career for not having great tactics, which
Hmm.
is funny in seeing him now. He is such a stone cold expert. It's ridiculous. Um, yeah, so that his attack came at like 43 to go, and by 36 kilometers to go, you got two big names off the front,
And that's
Lulu and Jakob Fuglsang.
yeah. And I'm not like, obviously I'm very familiar with Lulu. I'm definitely not familiar with Fugelsang.
Yeah, he was a damn good rider. He had some big stuff. Funny enough, I have it in my notes for later when catching some of his reaction. I listened to a post race interview with him. Um, he went on to get the biggest win of his career 1 week from this day. Uh, so we'll save that to the end.
Okay.
But he was a great rider, and really kind of peaking at this moment. And of course, Alaphilippe was just seriously on the come up as well. Um,
Well, and he had like a ridiculous spring as well. Like he had,
yeah,
like, both of them coming into this race had oh, I think I want to say that they said he had 8 wins already, like, on the season.
yeah, and he was and this was the year that he would win the world championships and then get it again the following year.
Yeah,
So um, I believe, yeah,
it sounds right.
Valverde and then Alaphilippe twice, and yeah, yeah. So. Uh, um,
And they went off the front at 35K, and they stayed off the front for
Yeah, they were
the rest
looking
of the
so
race.
good, working super well together, looking great. Um, Both looking super fresh. You know, they would kind of put in little digs here and there, and just there was immediate response from the other guy. Um, and you had a couple of chasers form behind them: Trentin, Michael Woods, and Quiato, which is a very strong trio to be chasing. Trentin is in the European national kit. Of course, Quiato is a former winner of the race as well. And Mike Woods is no slouch either. So this is
Well,
shaping up very nicely. We're 35 Ks to go, and we got a strong duo in the front. We got a strong trio chasing them. And inexplicably, you've got Van der Poel like kind of freelancing in the peloton, uh, up to a minute behind at one point. Well, we'll get into that as
yeah.
well.
I One of the things I found interesting, and again, you have to remember too, I'm painting it. I'm painting it as I'm watching. You know, going, wait a minute, all of these guys are 6 years younger. So Trenton and God, you just said his name.
Quiato.
Quiato. These are 6 years younger versions of themselves. So I mean, they've got a lot more in the tank,
Oh yeah.
and they are. They're doing a really, really good job, but it just doesn't seem at any point like they have the stuff to catch Lulu and Fuglsang, who just seem to
Yeah.
just be just pressing as hard as they can, knowing that they've got to, if they want a chance, they got to stay away. And I'm sure for Lulu, he's thinking, if it comes, excuse me, if it comes down to the two of us, I'm taking this.
Well, I mean, that's all they were talking about for 35 Ks is, if this thing comes down to a two up sprint, Alaphilippe has got the clear advantage, like Fuglsang has to figure something out here, be it, trying to get away from Alaphilippe or simply making Alaphilippe do the vast majority of the work because he has that advantage and they both know it. And of course, that sort of gamesmanship comes into play as we'll see.
Hmm.
But before all that, you had Van der Poel back there in the peloton, and he really didn't have any teammates working for him. and from from my memory, he was kind of yo-yoing the whole time. Like you'd see him up on the front, pulling, and then like he would just like disappear, and he'd be like 12 dudes back, and he was just kind of all over the place in that peloton, seemingly, you know, bewildered at how to, trying to make something happen, because as we're seeing on the graphics, the gap is just getting bigger and bigger, and at one point it's up to a minute, and it's probably, it was like, well, I have it in my notes, at least based on what we're seeing, 22.5 kilometers to go, the gap to the peloton is up to a full minute. It's at, with 17.7 to go, it's at 50 seconds, and it's probably like 35 to the Quiato group. So still, a big gap. Now, did you catch in one of those review videos that in fact the data that they were getting was wrong?
No.
Yeah, yeah. So, as it turns out, that information was incorrect, and it was the same information that was being relayed via race radio, as I understand it. Um, I guess I'll just jump ahead and talk to what I alluded to earlier. So Fulsang had like he was he was annoyed after this race. Um, he and he only got third, I think. He still made the podium, but he was really annoyed that Alaphilippe wouldn't pull harder. He was like, "There's no way that anybody should have gotten back in. Basically, like we should have been sprinting this out somehow." And he was
Well, I
like,
think that's the general consensus across everybody. I think that's why everybody was so shocked with the ending.
yeah, and he said, he literally said, in his interview, he was like, Alaphilippe is the biggest loser today.
He came in fourth. He
Yeah, he got fourth. I
absolutely
mean,
was. He didn't even get on the
he missed
podium.
podium, and he absolutely should have won. Not could have won. He should have won that race. But uh, so Fulsang throws Alaphilippe under the bus, and then he turns right around and he's like, and the information that I was getting also was not good, because like I was under the impression that those guys were way further back, and we turn around, we look back, and we're like, oh, they're not way further back at all. Like, what's going on? That's not 30 seconds. That's 12 seconds. Like, so
Well,
so so at the time, I thought to myself, wow, his team messed up. They were giving him the wrong information, or he was just like, he's just angry and throwing him under the bus or whatever. Then I come to find out in watching some of the other video material that I was watching, just sort of people talking about this race, that the information coming from race radio in terms of the time gaps was incorrect, and that's what they were using for the graphics on the screen. Now, kind of made for a more exciting race. I mean, it still would have been exciting, but like,
now inside of the 10K mark, I would say that them keeping anybody trying to keep up with what was happening, especially in the last 7Ks of that race, is impossible. Okay, because what I end up seeing, okay, because, and again, it's like I have a different viewpoint than most, because I don't have as much, experience with cycling and years of it. At around 7K to go, Van der Poel starts to press really, really hard, and he takes, I think it was like 8 riders with him.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it had been whittled down by then.
And he is pressing those 8 guys. First off, nobody's taking a turn but him. He is on the front of that group and just pushing. He's pushing so hard that the guys, the 8th guy on that train, all right, is struggling to keep attached to it because they're going so fast. So that means that, and again, you got to realize that it looks like a foregone conclusion that one of these 2 guys is going to win, and that these other 2, I think it was down to 2 guys at that point. It was Quiato, and who was in the European jersey? Trentin. It's basically like that's your 4, and they start to press. He starts to press and press. those guys can barely keep up with the amount of power he's putting out. And so he starts to close that gap very fast. I mean, because you're talking, it all comes back together under 1K. So if he starts it at 7, that's 6 kilometers where he moves that entire group, all right, back to the front. And so nobody could have kept up with that in that short amount of time to say to them, hey, this guy just went thermonuclear right behind you, and this gap is not what you think it is. Because that's what ultimately gets them, is you get to that point, and it was very much like that race we watched like a month ago or 2 months ago, where those two front lead guys start looking at each other, and, all of a sudden when that happens, Kwiato is just launches past them, and the whole race changes right there. You're under 1,000 meters, which is nuts. The whole thing just completely changes.
All right, let's rewind back to where you were talking about when Van der Poel 7Ks
Sure.
to go, and he's like starting to pull that group back. I think what's adding to the drama is that that he is going to be hard charging, and so do the guys that are trying to stick on his wheel. And basically, all 7 of those guys are now getting like an armchair ride to the finish line, and so that just amps up the excitement because you're like, yeah, it's Van der Poel. He's like the odds-on favorite, et cetera, et cetera. But this man is burning an absolute metric ton of energy to get back. Meanwhile, 7 dudes behind him are all sitting in the slipstream, and they're not going to be fresh as a daisy. They're trying to keep up with Mathieu Van der Poel.
That guy,
nonetheless,
the guy that was yo-yoing off the back, though, like there's no way he was going to have anything left.
Right, but you're still thinking to yourself, there's like 6 or 7 guys here, like between the ones who are up in the front, Fulsang and Alaphilippe, and then you got Trentin, you got Kwiato, like all these guys up there, and then you got 7 dudes charging hard at him. So it's like this can be anybody's race. You went from thinking this thing is done and dusted to holy crap, this is going to be anybody's race.
And it all unfolds so fast.
It's just crazy. I mean, I probably watched the final like 1,200 meters of this thing like 15 times in the past day, just like on slow mo, just like watching where each guy is as every 10 meters plays out. It's so fascinating. Before we get into the finish, I did want to point out a couple of things. I loved, first of all, this race course is just awesome. They've been doing it there for so long. They're so cycling mad. It's like everything is so tricked out and perfect. The Keutenberg, which is one of the climbs out there, kind of in the middle of the circuit. It's just long and straight and goes along the side of a hill, and we got a wide shot. There was a wide shot at one point where you could see this thing just like stretched out along the hill, and there's like 100 guys all in a line going up this thing. It was just so absolutely beautiful. And then when they get into the little towns, the crowds are just insane. I cannot wait.
The crowd at the end of the race was unfucking real. Like
it's incredible. Like I just want to go there and just be so hammered on Amstel Gold beer and just watching this bike race and just being in that vibe. It just looks so ridiculously fun. Yeah. So, I mean, do you agree that having the wrong information as far as the time gaps go sort of heightened it would be interesting. I want to see a video where somebody superimposes the actual time gaps under
that'd be interesting.
under what we were being given and see if it sort of changes the dimensions of the thing. But
it was all happening so quickly that it was like even the TV couldn't really keep up with it, because you had basically like 3 groups that you're all trying to follow, but you're trying, like, it's everything is so fluid and so happening so fast that it's like you see the Van der Poel group, and they're just weaving, and it was Bauke Mollema was the one that was like yo-yoing off the back of that group that he just couldn't hold on.
Right. Well, let me walk you through this make your point, but then I want to walk you through this because I can basically walk you through like every moment of
All right.
like the final 2.5K.
But what I was saying is, it was even like everything was evolving so quickly and changing so fast that you had essentially these three different situations going on all at once, and it felt like the TV couldn't keep up with each move. You know what I mean?
Because anything that would happen in any of those moves would be significant, and you can
Right.
only show. I mean, this is
You only get to
talk
show
about
one.
a race. Talk about a race that would have benefited from like the multi-screen, multi-view or whatever. Like, holy cow!
Yeah.
So basically, and the times I'm going to give you are what we were seeing on the broadcast, but these could be incorrect. So, two 3 kilometers to go. They're showing the Van der Poel group at over 1 minute behind. 3 kilometers to go, which would that just seems like an impossibility to make up in that amount of time. You know, especially against a 2019 Julian Alaphilippe. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Let's see. They had over Lulu and Fulsang had over 30 seconds on the chasers with 2.5K to go. 1.8 to go.
That's Quiato and Trentin, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
1.8 to go. They still had 28 seconds on Quiato and Trentin, 41 seconds on Van der Poel group. 41
Say
seconds.
that again.
1.8 to go.
Okay.
30 seconds on Quiato, 40 seconds on Van der Poel.
Well, it has to be wrong at that point because there's Quiato just wasn't that far back.
1.5, they're showing 20 to Quiato, 30 to Van der Poel. So from 1.8 to 1.5, both of those groups shaved 10 seconds, according to, you know, 3/10 of a kilometer. Both of the chasing groups shaved off 10 seconds on the leaders, which makes sense if you consider that this is the time that Alaphilippe and Fulsang started tightening up their shoes and looking at each other. You know,
Yep.
even though they were still cooking along.
Well, and I think somebody made a point too in the broadcast to say, like, you know, they're not paying attention to what's really going on. Like, they should stop doing this and keep riding. I couldn't tell you how many times throughout the year I'm just like, Jesus, keep riding.
But think about it though. Now think about it though, based on what I said about how the information was wrong. So let's say it's 1.5 Ks to go. The TV is showing 21 to Trentin and 30 to Van der Poel. Okay. Yeah. Think about that. 1.5 Ks to go. 21 seconds to the closest chaser. If you're Jakob Fulsang and you're being told that, you're like, I got a little bit of time to mess with here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's for 1.5 Ks, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So
1,500 meters. Yeah.
That is why he's so pissed, because at that point in time, it was probably closer to 10.
Probably. And again, I think a lot of that has to do with how nuclear both Quiato and Van der Poel went in those moments, in that time. Those guys were going much faster than what anybody had anticipated. Like, they were not riding, they were launching.
And they just kind of didn't realize until it was too late that, like, they had let up too soon. At 1.5 Ks to go, Max Schachmann bridges over from the peloton and catches up with Quiato and Matteo Trentin. You get this great moment where the shot changes. It switches to a shot from behind the Van der Poel group, and it's on a straight road, and you can see in front of them, you see Schachmann and Trentin, and then a little further up in front of them, you see Quiato, and you're like, in an instant, you're like, oh no, they're way closer. They're way closer.
Way closer.
Like, they're not that far ahead of them, right? So then the shot switches again to a helicopter shot, and now you're seeing the curves. The finish is like left curve, right curve, left curve into the finish, and you're seeing Fulsang Alaphilippe like rolling through that left curve. You make the right curve and you go under the 1K to go, and it's basically like 400 meters straight, left turn, 600 meters straight to the finish. And as you're watching those guys head into the 1K to go, you see Quiato just like zooming across.
I mean, he's like a
zooming
missile
across. And just before the angle changes, you see the Van der Poel group coming into the shot as well. And you're realizing, oh my God, like the speeds are crazy. The camera that you're getting from there, it switches to a shot right behind
well, and
Quiato.
And the two lead guys, I mean, if you think about what's happening to them, they can't see them behind them because of the chicane.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Right.
You don't have a clear shot back until it's too late. And that's where they got caught. Okay.
Right.
When they come out of that turn at 600 meters, okay, that it to me, it was over at that point because they were not at any near the same velocity as any of those other riders. Because when Quiato catches them, he doesn't just catch them, he blasts right past them. I mean, he smokes them.
He seems more aware of the impending group, and what happens is
100%.
There's a shot from behind Kwiatkowski as he goes into that turn, and then the next shot you get, there was a camera bike, and having watched it so many times, you can see where the camera bike is, like in the helicopter shot. That camera bike ends up right behind Alaphilippe and Fulsang, and right in front of Quiato as he's coming up. So the camera has got his camera facing forward, looking at Alaphilippe and Fulsang, and then he turns it back, and you see Kwiatkowski come straight up at him, and no sooner have you fixated on the charging Kwiatkowski, you see that Van der Poel group come around that corner in the back. It is like one of the great shots, just seeing that whole group barreling through that corner, and it's like, oh my God, it's on. It switches to a helicopter shot, and now you're seeing the chess pieces on the board, and it's so good. And then ultimately they end up with like the finishing straight camera shots where it's like fixed camera, each one getting further back as they near the finish line, and it's so great.
Well, so at that point you have, Quiato blasts past those two, and in that moment, that's where the panic sets in for both of them, and they start to be like, "Oh shit!" But again, they're focused on Quiato. They're not focused on the other problem that's coming up behind Quiato, which is Van der Poel. Because once Van der Poel kind of like moves over to the one side and then starts to come back, because the whole way through, Van der Poel is doing this left to right. Like
this is what was interesting. Watching him in that section from like 500 to 300 is really interesting, because he's treating it as like he's leading out a bunch sprint with nobody in front of him. So in his mind, he's like, I'm going to catch these guys in front of me, but I need to make sure that I win this bunch sprint with all these guys that I just dragged for 10 kilometers that have been riding my wheel. And so if you watch him, he looks back like 4 times. He goes back and forth. He does. Yep. It's classic sprinting. They talk about him having poor tactics, but he would swing to one side so nobody could come around him on that side, and he'd look back. Then he'd swing to the other side and look back, and the other side and look back, and knowing full well that he's closing the gap. He's closing the gap on Alaphilippe, and he knows he's watching Alaphilippe and Fulsang the whole time, and he knows exactly where to go. He makes the catch at 100 meters to go. Does not hesitate at all. As soon as he gets behind him, he immediately peels off and charges. By 75 meters to go, he's even with Alaphilippe, and by 50 Ks to go, he's in the lead, and he's got it for good. But I mean,
well, in
down to the last second,
both of the in 2 of the videos that I had, you had the one set of commentators, and then you had the set that had, so you had like Sean Kelly and somebody on one, and so you heard their call, and then the Rob Hatch call was on the other video on the highlights reel.
And he had, do you notice, you remember who he had with him?
No, I didn't.
Your boy, Matt Stevens.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
you like they're and to a man they're all going nuts. They're like, this is insane. We've never seen anything like this, because he shouldn't have had that much power. Like he should not have been able to dust these guys the way that he did. And he ends up coming across the line and he does that I can't believe it. Because again, dude, he's he's a monster hero in this moment, because he's the hometown guy in the hometown race that was completely nobody thought he was going to win until, and again, this all happens in 2 minutes. It's such a short
crazy
amount of time where it changes, and everybody's just trying to catch up. But when he crosses that line, dude, and they turn it around, the amount, the crowd of people on the other side of that finish line is fucking daunting. There was so many fucking people.
It's absolutely crazy. And the other great crowd moment for me, so he crosses the finish line and he kind of does his signature, flop on the ground. I mean, it's become iconic at this point. He literally just throws the bike down and just flops onto the ground, and he's just holding his head. And you get, it seems obnoxious when you're watching it. You see these guys sticking microphones right next to him as he's laying on the ground like this. But what's great is you're hearing those microphones are catching his sounds, and he's just he's wailing and moaning and crying out, and just and he's just going loud and soft. It's just absolutely nuts. And when he finally stands up, there is a roar from the crowd that's just gathered around him right there, who can finally see his head, and it's that is a great moment, very subtle, but it's really, really cool. Just absolutely insane. I mean, my question is, that the single greatest kilometer of road bike racing, professional road bike racing ever? Has there ever been a better kilometer of racing than the final kilometer of that race?
I don't know, man. It is
a better performance over 1 kilometer than what he put in.
I mean,
for those 1,000 meters.
It's you can't take away what he did in the 7K to move himself from where he was to where he ended up. I mean, it's a tremendous performance in the last 10K of a race that's 230 kilometers long. That, again, he had expended a massive amount of energy early on. It's amazing. It was. The crazy thing is, he ends up in first. Simon Clark ends up in second. All right, so none of your Kwiato, Alaphilippe, none of them end up.
Fuglsang hangs on for third.
And then Alaphilippe in fourth.
Impressive sprint from Clark to get second too.
Super impressive.
I have a lot to say about the post race stuff. So let's take a break and we'll get into it in a moment.
All right.
Stay with us.
Don't miss Beyond the Slipstream, our weekly companion podcast to the Team Bus, our domestique, if you will, dropping every Saturday in your usual podcast feed.
All right, we are back talking about the aftermath of the 2019 Amstel Gold race. Mathieu Van der Poel has just pulled off perhaps the greatest kilometer in the history of professional cycling. He flops onto the ground. He is writhing. He's screaming out in ecstasy and pain. Rises to a roar from the jubilant hometown crowd. Jakob Fuglsang is not happy after this race, as stated earlier. However, Simon Clark was absolutely thrilled to have gotten second. I don't think that he had any thought of podiuming this race, and to find himself in second behind only the guy who was favorite made him very happy. And as I said, Fuglsang in his anger did not know that just 1 week later he would win Bastogne-Liège, and would give us one of the greatest heart skips a beat moments of all time. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, not at all.
Mm. You got to go and find it. It will be very easily findable. Just full Google full sang at Liège, Bastogne Liège. I should have put it in the notes. Um, he was soloing to the win, and it had rained earlier in the day, and it was one of those. It was one of those like small road in the woods, no like shade. The sun hadn't burned off the wetness yet, but it had stopped raining a couple hours before, but just the slickest of all possible roads. And that dude slid going around a corner and somehow kept it upright. And it is just you have got to see it to believe it. It's incredible. Um, so uh anyways, um one thing I loved was just how stunned both of the commentators that we listened to were, as you were alluding to earlier. Rob Hatch said, and I quote, "I have never ever seen anything like this in my life." Those were his words as Van der Poel rolled across the finish line.
Which seems impossible, but like also totally possible when you kind of like watch this race how it unfolded. It was wild. I'm telling you, man. Like the way that Malama couldn't hang on to that group just spoke volumes to how fast he was going and how
You know,
hard he was pressing.
You know what's funny about that too is that Balcom Alama was the one that Simon Clark credited in his interview with getting him onto the Vanderpool group.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah, what a great race. I am so glad we reviewed that thing. And I have watched the finish of that race many, many times before this, but just taking this deep of a dive on it was a whole lot of fun. Um, and it obviously is just a cultural touchstone because there's so much coverage of this thing
Hmm.
uh, all over YouTube. So it was quite an enjoyable journey. Um,
So can we? So now can we shift gears into talking about Matthew Van der Poel as like a slight career retrospective.
Yeah, but we can. But I'm the host of the show. I'm the one that's supposed to say, now we're
I
going to shift
asked you if we
gears.
could. I didn't know if you were ready.
I'm ready. Um, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, this guy's Palmares sheet is just a murderer's row of achievement here. So,
I have 9 points that I put in his high greatest hits highlights section.
um, yeah, I'm sure we have complete crossover there. You want me to give you throw in like a little like quick early career stuff that he did?
Sure.
Yeah, so he got his start in bike racing 15 years ago in the novice ranks of cyclocross. All right, so this guy's only been, racing in organized bike racing for 15 years. Um, Took second in the national championships of his first year for cyclocross. The following year, he won every single race that he entered. Unbelievable. Next year, moves up to juniors. He wins every race but four. Um, Absolutely dominated the national, European, and world championships for cyclocross at the junior level that year. Like won all three and in dominant fashion in all three. So this is one of the sort of things that we road cycling fans kind of don't pay much attention to, but he has absolutely dominated cyclocross at the top level for basically his entire career.
I have 6 points on his cyclocross career as well.
Go ahead, hit some of them.
So he's a 7-time world championship plus a silver plus a bronze. So in you said 15 years he's been racing. I'm going to guess that 9 years is pretty close to his total as a pro, or very close to it. And he's basically podiumed the world championship every year since
For cyclocross,
for cyclocross.
which
He
is, it's interesting looking at his career too. And like I was mentioning earlier, about how, all we talked about for the second half of the season was Pogacar, Pogacar, Pogacar. Um, because Vanderpool's focus on cyclocross, I think he I think for a rider of his abilities, a true puncher in like the most specific sense of the word, um, it's kind of makes sense that he's that good. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because he can kind of pump the brakes at the end of the season, save up a little bit, and then jump into the cross season over the fall and into the winter, and um, just dominate there. All right, so what else you got
So
on
he
cross?
has won the World Cup race in Hoogerhade 7 times. All right. He has podiumed 184 times in cyclocross.
God,
He has 149 wins. All right. And to put that into perspective, that is a 71% win rate.
good Lord, that's crazy.
Yes, that's nuts. He has
And that'll also tell you a lot about how cyclocross mad that country is. You know what I mean?
he has one World Cup overall, so he has won the cyclocross World Cup, overall champion for a year.
Which is also interesting because you would think that a guy who's been so totally dominant in cyclocross would have won the World Cup. That's like a points thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that just completely speaks to the fact that, like, well, he also has this whole like road cycling thing that he does.
Yeah,
So he's not around I mean, to win. And it makes you think like, well, maybe part of the reason that overall win percentage is so high is that he very specifically targets races that he knows he can win, um,
probably
and sort of gears up for a big push, and then just wins everything, and then
jumps back
steps
out.
out. Yeah.
Um, he's won the 4 super prestiges as well. So, I mean, the guy can definitely race. And one of the really fun things that, like, as I was doing the research on the outside of cycling stuff, is he has been tied with Wout van Aert since they were kids. Like, these two guys have been battling each other on the cyclocross court since they were children.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I mean, that has to be one of the signature great rivalries in all of professional cycling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I kind of give the edge to Van der Poel in terms of the rivalry. Um, but that is to take nothing away from Wout van Aert
No,
in a
not at
way,
all.
because they have obviously a lot of overlap, especially in the cross area, and for sure in cross, like Van der Poel's Palmares are far greater than Wout van Aert's.
It makes you wonder. You know how we talk about, like, if Pog wasn't here, would Jonas be this? It makes you wonder too. Had Matthew Van der Poel not been, here during that same period, would Wout van Aert have just an unbelievable Palmares as well? You know what I mean? In both cases, they've run up
Mhm.
against the best that's ever done it. In their time, which it does make you somewhat sad. Um,
Yeah, but I think also though, like Wout's career just sort of had a different focus in a way. We've talked about that a lot about his especially his Grand Tour focus and the achievements that he's gotten there, and Van der Poel doesn't really go for that kind of stuff.
well, I read another kind of relevant thing this week about the difference between Wout van Aert and Matthew Van der Poel. And there was a pundit just this week, it was an article on Up to Date, that said that Wout's family life is what's cost him, at least, this is their take on it, is that Wout's having a family has held him back versus Van der Poel, who is just out there freewheeling and doing the racing thing. So, and that's not to say that, like, I'm sure that Wout does not regret having a family and falling in love and all
No.
of those things. You know what I mean? But it does take away from your focus, and it does take away from the time that you will inevitably want to spend putting into these things. So,
Well, and I get the feeling that Wout is the kind of guy that can look at that whole situation and say to himself, could I possibly have become, let's say, you know, the greatest Belgian cyclist of all time? Mm, maybe, maybe I could have given Merckx a run, or been could I have been the signature like best of my generation? Maybe, but to exchange the family that I have to have that instead,
yeah,
like
it's not going to be worth it.
I'm still a stone cold freaking legend for the
Yeah,
rest of
yeah, yeah.
time. You
He'll
know,
never buy a
I'll,
beer.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
never buy a beer in Belgium. Um, so
Now, back to Van der Poel. He is also the 2024 gravel world champion. So he's won the world championship in 3 different disciplines,
mhm.
and he's going for a 4th.
He'd love to get that mountain bike, but
Well,
we've talked
no.
about it.
So what's interesting about that is his biggest goal out there is to win the mountain biking world championship. He wants 4 world championship discipline jerseys.
Yeah, is there somebody in history that's achieved that?
I don't believe so.
All four of
I do not
those.
believe that that exists.
Wow. Well, that would be cool.
Next August in Italy, he can go for it.
August in Italy. All right, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Is there any other cross stuff?
No, that is all my cross stuff. So let's talk about his road
Well,
cycling.
let's look. I'm just gonna throw at you um his just the list of his major highlights in chronological order. 2015, he gets his first cross world championship. 2019, he gets his second cross world championship plus Dwarsdor, Brabantse Pijl, and Amstel Gold. That's in 19, and we just did that race. 2020, third UCI cross championship, first Tour of Flanders. 2021, fourth UCI cross championship plus Strade Bianche, a Tour de France stage, and a yellow jersey. 2022, Dwarsdor Vlaanderen, second Tour of Flanders, stage at the Giro, and wears the pink jersey. 2023, arguably his best year ever. Fifth UCI Cross Championship plus 2 monuments, MSR and Paris-Roubaix, and the UCI Road World Championships. Stunning. 2024, sixth UCI Cross World Championship, 2 monuments, Flanders and Roubaix, and the UCI Gravel Worlds. 2025, seventh UCI Cross Championships, that's the most of all time, plus 2 more monuments, MSR and Roubaix, and another Tour de France stage win, and 4 more days in the yellow jersey. That is ridiculous.
So here was my 9. He is a 3-time Tour of Flanders winner, 2022, 24. 3 times Paris-Roubaix, 23, 24, 25. So that's, obviously in a row. 2 times MSR, world champion, 2 times the E3 Saxo Classic, 2 times Dwarsdorf Vlaanderen, Strade Bianchi, multiple Tour de France stages, and he has GC wins in the Tour of Britain, the Bink Bank Tour, and the Tour of Belgium.
That Tour of Britain was crazy.
Yeah, I feel like that might be one that we want to go back and take a look at sometime.
Yeah, that was quite a performance, man.
So I mean, this guy. I mean, he's just it. He is one of the greats to ever do it. I mean,
All right, well let's drill down on some of these. What you pick one and we'll cross them off the list because I'm sure we've got a lot of the same stuff here.
that's my whole list of.
No, but
his
I want
wins.
to talk about the ones
Oh,
like
okay.
in specific.
Or you start.
2023 Paris-Roubaix. He bridges up to Wout van Aert with 15 kilometers to go. By 6 kilometers to go, he's 30 seconds ahead. He just barely misses coming to grief around a right-hand turn. There was like those little yellow, like kind of crowd control things that they put on the edge of the street. And I mean, it was like a millimeter. Um, Goes into the velodrome on his own and wins handily. And poor Wout van Aert is right there at the finish line watching him win, but he's still got a lap to go around that track. The poor bastard. Wah wah.
All right.
So, but that was a stunning win.
Beating Pogacar in MSR this year. like unbelievable to me because you want to talk about a guy that wants to win a race in the worst possible way and just being so goddamn good. The end of that race coming down to like him and Filippo Ganna and Pogacar, loved it. That was one of my favorite monuments of the year.
It was fantastic. Agreed. How about MSR? Speaking of which, 2023, where he gets his first MSR win. He attacks at the top of the Poggio, and only Pogacar and Ghana can stay with him. And he hangs on with a daredevil descent and hangs on for the win.
The World Championship is still one of my favorites. When he crashes in one of those like late kilometer turns, like right before the end of the race, he goes down. It was super slick. It's in Glasgow. It had rained. And of course, like inside of the like the city area, the sunlight's not getting in, and it's very wet. And he goes around a really hard right turn, and the whole bike comes out from under him. And you're like, oh my god, because he's out in front, like he's way out in front, and you're like, oh my god, I hope that this doesn't do it. And he's able to hang on to get that world championship, and it was spectacular.
Yeah, he destroys his shoe. At
Yes.
some point, he like literally reaches down and like rips off the piece of the boa cable and throws it on the ground. And just yeah, his kid is all shredded on the one side. I mean, which you have to love, like in retrospect, when you're looking back at your career, like the great photos, and you get the one of you're a warrior. You've been on the ground, like so great. Yeah, that was an absolutely great one. How about 2021 Strade Bianche? This is like the one that everyone called thermonuclear on Le Tolfe, which is that like really steep gravel climb that's like 20 kilometers outside of the finish. This is the one where he's going head to head with Alaphilippe, and they reel him back after Le Tolfe, but then he puts the nail in the coffin on the Via Santa Caterina, the iconic finishing climb into the Piazza del Campo at the end of Strade Bianche.
Where you're inside the city.
Yeah, and Alaphilippe just did not have an answer. Great addition of Strade Bianche.
Yeah, man. When he got, I also think of it was the tour either 2 years ago or 3 years ago when he got the first. He got the yellow jersey like really early on in the race. I remember that one too. Like I remember.
Well, last year he got it. Like last year, remember Philipsen got it on day one, and then Van der Poel got it the next day.
4 days.
Yeah. Well, in 2021, he got his first one, and he got his first Tour de France stage win on stage 2.
That's the one I'm thinking of, because that was very early in my cycling.
Yeah, super punchy course, and this is the one where he did it on his grandfather's birthday and did the like pointing to the sky, like he's shaking his head, but he was pointing like to grandfather. This one's for you, grandpapa, poo-poo, as they called him. Yeah, I had that one on my list as well. Let's move on to the 2024 Ronde van Vlaanderen. This is the one where it was like wet and rainy, and he makes his move on the very muddy Koppenberg, blows the climb up, and the only ones hanging with him were Jorgensen and Pedersen. Everyone else is behind, like out of the saddle, like pushing their bikes up this thing because it's like so slippery and it's like such a choke point. But Van der Poel had already just like blown right through there. He knew the exact moment to go. He knew damn good and well, like, this is not going to be pretty here with all these guys. I got to get clear of this. And he just makes his move at the right time, and has nearly a minute in hand when he gets to the end. He's also wearing the rainbow bands for that win. Iconic, truly.
And that's, I mean, for the ones that I clearly remember, I'm tapped out. So those are the ones that I am like.
I got one or two more things here on mine. We just mentioned it, 2018 Tour of Britain, an early look at his ability to go thermonuclear with like the punching, like there was two different, I think he had two different stage wins here. The one that he that he had to take the jersey was just ridiculous. When you see the helicopter shot, these dudes just slow to a crawl, and he's just like blasting past everybody.
Well, and the like iconic one from that, he's in the green jersey for that
Yeah,
race. Yeah.
that's the other one. And then the well, I wanted to. I got two more Ronde van Vlaanderen mentions. One of which I put a link in there, but I'm sure you've seen this before. That is his crash in the 2019 Ronde van Vlaanderen. You seen this one where something happens to his bike and he goes to pull off on the sidewalk and then he crashes?
Yes, it was in one of the highlight packages that I watched. I just saw that.
Yeah, he absolutely like face plants, and it was brutal. And he still manages to get fourth place in that race. But in 2020, to round this back to the rivalry between him and Wout van Aert, it was basically the one. It was the one where it was Van der Poel, Van Aert, and Alaphilippe off the front, and they were riding in a line together. Foregone conclusion, these three are going to be fighting it out in the finish, and they're coming up on a camera bike, and Alaphilippe is in the back, and I don't know if like Van der Poel had been trying to catch a draft off it and then just sort of peeled out at the last second, but Alaphilippe was not paying attention and he slammed into the back of the motorbike, and it took him out of the race. And suddenly you got the two rivals, Van der Poel and Van Aert, and poor Wout van Aert, man, he never comes out on the right side of these things, man. It was
No.
Van der Poel beat him in the sprint by 4 inches.
Yeah, it's crazy.
4 inches. God, I wish Wout would have won that. Even though I love Van der Poel, like he's great, but like man, I wish Wout would have won that and got himself a Tour of Flanders. So close.
So
and to have won it over Van der Poel would have been really cool for him too. But 'twas not to be.
So
you want to talk?
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say you want to talk about his pedigree with his dad and his grandpapa.
I do want to mention two things that I am very jealous of about him, though. He's sponsored by both Lamborghini and Richard Mille, and routinely wears like $200,000 to $300,000 watches while he races, which is completely ridiculous.
And wears those watches while driving in his Lam. Do you say Lambo?
Yeah, he's got. Well, his daily driver is a Urus that he just got, and then there was one. I put a picture in there of this this off-road Huracan that he showed up to a cyclocross race in one time. It's pretty crazy.
Let me go take a look. What's the car? The like brown looking like sports car?
That's the Huracan.
You said that's an off-road vehicle?
Yeah, that is like a special, like off-road version of the Huracan.
That's cool about the watches too. That's sick.
Yeah.
Well, he's given them bang for their buck. I mean, just look at that picture you put in there. He's holding it right up. You can see it like a champ. Yeah, nice. Well, he deserves it. He's an absolute stud.
Yeah, and he's got a hot wife.
They all have hot wives, dude.
So
that's
okay, so let's go on. Do you want to start with Granddad or
yeah,
Dad?
Granddad Raymond Poulador, nicknamed Poo Poo. He one thing's crazy. He raced for the same team for his entire career. That almost never happens.
He has another nickname too.
What's his other nickname?
The Eternal Second.
Oh yeah, the Eternal Second for sure. Yeah, that's sort of he's that guy. He never won the Tour de France. In fact, he never even had the yellow jersey. Not one day, even though he came in second, second 3 times, third 5 times. Never wore the yellow jersey. He won the Vuelta in '64, and that was the only Grand Tour he ever won.
Correct.
And he's one of these guys that existed in an age when there just happened to be this other dude racing at the time named Eddie Merckx. You know?
So he has a distinction. I don't know if you caught this in your research. He was the first rider, all right, in the Tour de France to be drug tested in 1966.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
No, well, and I don't know if you saw the note in the the about Van der Poel's father, Adri. He had an interesting positive in a drug test early in his career. Did you
No,
see
I did
that?
not see that.
Yeah, they drug tested him, and he got he got dinged for I think it was uh yes, strychnine, which is like what's in acid or whatever.
Yeah,
He
rat
said
poison.
right. He said that he had eaten a pigeon pie the day before that his grandfather had prepared, and only when he tested positive did he realize that the pigeons had been doped with strychnine.
Probably trying to kill them.
I guess.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
Caught a little poison or something like that, but not enough to kill him or something, or they'd develop some kind of immunity or something. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
very interesting. So,
Interesting.
yes. So,
Interesting.
so,
Interesting.
and I think Poulador was kind of like a beloved figure because he was the eternal second, like everybody loves an underdog, and he was that guy. So, um,
I mean, it's
kind
not.
of,
It's not like he didn't win. I mean, he won 7 Tour de France stages, 4 Vuelta stages.
yeah, yeah.
He had two GCs in Paris Nice and the Dauphiné. 3 second places in the Tour de France. He won MSR, won Flesh Wallone. So I mean, he was a
it,
rider.
it's it's also like I think it's very interesting and I'm so ready for the biopic about this that um it's his maternal grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
but his dad is also a bike racer. It's just like the drama is just there. Like I want to know what it was like when like Adri is like getting together with his wife and his new father-in-law is Raymond Poulador, who's like a cycling legend, but he's also the eternal second.
Yeah.
you know, like there had to have been some level of intimidation for Adri as he entered this family and you know certainly was aware
Oh, very
of
aware, I'm
Raymond
sure.
Poulador and everything. You know what I mean? So it just there's probably already been a book written about this in Dutch. Um, that's something I would not mind digging into at some point. Um, yeah, so then you got Adrie van der Poel. That's Mathieu's dad. He is racing in like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
I think his
his
last
last year
race
was
was like in
99.
2000 or 99. Um, and he had a pretty strong career
Hmm.
all in all. You want to go through his highlights?
So I have him winning LBL. He won Tour of Flanders. He won Amstel Gold. He won Paris Tours. He was a 2-time Tour de France stage winner, 3-time stage winner at Paris Nice. He raced until 1999. Those were the ones that I found that were like his highlights.
Yeah, and he was the second guy on the podium in 1983 when Greg LeMond won the world championship.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So, great pedigree. Did you see the finish of his Amstel Gold win?
No, I did not.
Very similar to his son's.
Really?
It was like a 4 up sprint, and he won by a nose, man. He won by like 5 inches or something like that. Um, but it was it was cool. And I have to believe that he is like the sort of gray-haired older guy that Vanderpool hugged, like after he hugged his trainer. He gets up off the ground. He hugs a guy who's like got a clipboard or something right there, and then uh, he turns and he's looking for his dad, and his dad must have been like calling out to him at that moment or something
Right.
because he's very much aware, and he's like reaching over to get to somebody, and he has to he like gets to his dad's hand, but he has to like go over somebody's head in order to get space to pull him in, but there's a big hug. So I think that must be his dad. Because I know his dad is very much
Yeah,
sort
his
of
dad's definitely omnipresent
present, and it just must be so cool for both of those guys. You know what I mean? His dad is no slouch to begin with. He had a cool professional career, and then he has this son who goes on to just stratospheric heights,
well,
you
it
know?
seems from one generation to the next that just got better and better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just it's so cool. But the son is obviously like light years, you know, greater than the father, like in terms of overall palmares.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah,
It's in the
it's
DNA, man.
indeed.
Very much so. But what a racer, dude.
Yeah, so let's
This whole exercise has given me a much greater appreciation for how good he is.
absolutely, absolutely. So let's just take a quick minute to talk about what we think he will do in 2026.
So the biggest thing that I found in my research is that as far as like things that he is targeting, he wants that mountain bike world championship. Like that is
And
definitely on the radar.
but you said that's like later in the season,
It'll be
right?
August.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so that will not interfere with
Monument
any of
racing, no.
yeah, monument racing and stuff like that. So do you think he will win another monument this year? And if so, which one?
Oof.
Or two?
I think he has as good if he races MSR. I think he has as good a shot as anybody to take MSR again. Um, same with Perry Roubaix. I mean, I think and his obviously his stiffest competition in both those races are going to be Pogacar, and this is these are the races where Pogacar is. I won't say struggled, but he can't seem to get over the hill on it and take the win. So I don't know, man. Putting those two guys, I like watching those two guys race each other is always fun.
Hmm.
Especially when it's the
When they're
competition
evenly
is
matched.
somewhat equal and matched. Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think he will win two more monuments. I think he'll win two of the first three this year. And I think he will. I think he will get two more Grand Tour stage wins. I don't know that he will have a better season than last year, but I think he'll be pretty close to even with it. Um, I was going to say he'll podium the World Championships in Montreal, but
I think it'll
well,
overlap.
no, it won't actually
It'll be
because
earlier, but it just
no,
depends
it'll
on.
be in September if the mountain biking is in August. I'm going to stick with that. I say he podiums the World Championships.
Ooh,
What do you think he will do at the mountain biking worlds?
I mean, I think that he has he has every ability to do it. It's a very different discipline because it's got like all the like the rocks and the different things. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I guess
Well,
it also. I wonder if it plays into like his contract, like whether or not they feel that that's too risky. I don't know, but I know that it's a target.
yep, yep. Well, I think when you're Mathieu Van der Poel, you call the shots on those kinds of things in terms of like what you're gonna do, how you're
Yeah.
gonna spend your time. Um, yeah,
Look, I'm all in for that. I want that to be a thing. I want him to go to that race. Like I really would
yeah.
love to see that happen.
Oh, I am so stoked for that, and
Yeah.
I love that in the midst of all of our fandom of road cycling, that the season also offers up these other tantalizing nuggets that we get to check
Yeah.
out, be it the gravel worlds or the cross worlds or the mountain biking worlds, and other sort of tangential stuff that we
Mhm.
get from time to time. It's very cool. Well, Vanderpool certainly one of the all-time greats, a generational talent, one of the current best two or three riders on the planet, and has been for a couple of years now. Can't wait to see what he does in the coming year. This was fun.
This was.
Yeah, so stay with us. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are taking a ride in the Mathieu Van der Poel Broom Wagon. Ale. All right, we are back. We're going to take a ride in Mathieu Van der Poel's Broom Wagon, a place where he has probably been very, very few times in his career. Justin, what have you got for us this week?
I wanted to shout out the country, the nation of Haiti for qualifying for the World Cup for the first time in 52 years.
The football World Cup.
The football World Cup, yes. So I have a friend of mine that is of Haitian descent. His mom is from Haiti. He is has very deep national pride, and so it was very cool to see Haiti qualify for the World Cup this year after such a long time.
Imagine if they end up playing their game in Philadelphia.
That'd be interesting. They clinched their spot after finishing strong in the final round of qualifying, overcoming adversity and winning key matches against strong opponents. Due to safety concerns, this is a very interesting thing about it. Due to safety concerns, Haiti was forced to play all of its home matches in a neutral venue, further highlighting the significance of that achievement.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very lawless, scary place, Haiti. The people of that nation are very resilient.
Oh yeah.
They've been through a lot, and that is quite an achievement.
I did put in a couple of videos for you to check out of just when they were like flooding the streets and like some of the reactions as they were celebrating, because it was like one of those rare moments where like the streets flooded and everybody is like, celebrating together. And it's cool when you can see something that unifies, a place that isn't always unified.
Did they get in via a qualifying match, or was it the nation was waiting for like
they won a match? Yeah.
And that qualified them for the World Cup. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Much better than simply like there being an announcement made. And the 64th and final team in the World Cup this year is Haiti. All right. Wow. Well, that's awesome.
Yep. So shout out to Haiti. We will be watching you in the World Cup this year when it is finally being played here in the U.S.
Awesome. Well, speaking of shout outs, I have to, for the second week in a row, give a shout out to you, my brother, for all of the legwork you did, which enabled me to quickly move through my show prep this week. So thank you for that. One of the many videos that you put in, I thought was especially good. And it was from a channel called Riffion Boy. And so I am going to recommend wholeheartedly the Riffion Boy YouTube channel. There's only 17 videos total on this guy's channel, and he's been going for a couple of years now, but he very regularly puts out a video like every 3-4 months. When you see the videos and you consider that, my guess would be he does the writing and the editing and the producing, but he's got a guy with a really great sounding English accented voice to do the voiceover for them. So it's a 2-man operation, but mainly it's this one guy. I'm guessing this guy probably already, probably has a day job and everything, and this is just a labor of love, so he can't just crank videos out. But the stuff that he does is fantastic. It's just really well produced. It's pro cycling related subjects, issues, specific riders, and specific incidents. I would categorize or group his videos in. I watched a terrific video, which will link to in the show notes, on mechanical doping. And it was just, if you've ever wondered anything about mechanical doping and pro cycling, watch this video. It will show you everything you could possibly want to see. It'll show you all of the great like archival footage where people were caught like in bike races where like they crashed and the bike is like spinning around on the ground like under the mechanic, you know what I mean? I'm sure you've seen a couple of these. He's got every one of them in there. He's got a whole little bit on like the first guy to get busted, and then there was a Dutch woman that got either Dutch or Belgian, I can't remember which, but a woman who got busted hard, and like at first she denied it, and then they went back and found more footage, including footage of her clicking on the little hidden button on her hoods to power up the the mechanical, device or whatever on the inside, and like footage of her just like sobbing when she finally came clean. And like he's got it all, but then he's got these great like little CGI'd like diagrams of like how it works, and he shows you this like this bike, and then it zooms inside and shows you the battery setup. And I mean they are really really well done, and his buddy that he's got doing the voiceover is fantastic. The guy's voice is fantastic. Really good use of music in these things, and they got like a great look to them. And one of the ones,
they're almost like mini documentaries.
Yeah, they are documentaries, but he's got his house style. They're really good. So I'm going to be watching probably every single video on that channel over the next like couple of months or whatever. Some of them are short, some of them are longer. He's got his favorite subjects. There's a few Cavendish ones on there. There's some Sagan ones on there, and some other stuff. So definitely check it out. It's a Riffion Boy YouTube channel. And big recommendation. So that's all for this week. Join us next week for our 3 versus 1 show, where we'll take a look back at one of our favorite races from this past year, Nilsen Paulus's stunning performance at Dwarsdor Vlaanderen, and we'll compare and contrast it with another famous 3v1 from the past, the 2015 edition of Omloop Het Nussblad. Until then, for my brother Justin, I'm Matt Harper. Thanks for listening. We hope you'll join us again soon for another ride on the Team Bus. Ale!
The Team Bus is a production of Harperama. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please like and subscribe, smash that button, leave a 5-star review, and most importantly, tell all your friends about us. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next time. Ale!